Hey, what's up? This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. I'm Norm, along with Mike. The Leafs coming off another victory by a very slim margin, but they all count. 5-4 over Mike Sabres in Buffalo. A 12-second remaining goal from the one and only Morgan Rielly and all that fat pocket and wallets that he has with all that money, doing a nice job to support the Maple Leafs. And the NHL debut of one Joseph Woll, called up in a pinch by the Maple Leafs, 23 saves. He gets his first victory. The Leafs 8-2 in their last 10. Not too shabby. Second in the division. Mr. Augello, good morning.
Good morning, Norm. I was at the game last night, although as a patron of the KeyBank Center instead of covering it, but I was still covering it, but just in the stands. And boy, I had ample room to spread out, to put my feet up on the chair and lounge. I have been going to Leafs Sabres games since 1979. I think I've missed maybe two since then. And I've never seen a crowd, a smaller crowd in my life than that game. And there was a couple reasons. One, the Sabres suck. They're trying. They don't have a lot of talent, but they are hustling and trying for Don Granato. But they're terrible. They have a variable pricing plan, so the Leaf tickets are the highest level ticket. Mm-hmm. And that normally would not be a problem for rabid Leaf fans crossing the border, but because of the border restrictions that Canada has, and the PCR test costing anywhere between $150 to $200 Canadian for a fan to come over to see the game, screw that. It's like, it was 7,900 fans. And I'd say, maybe 2,000 were Leaf fans. But normally, if there would have been 12 to 13,000 Leaf fans in a normal situation. But that being said, Leaf fans shouldn't usually come down to Buffalo, because every time they come down to Buffalo, they play down to the competition. They suck, and they almost always lose. And they almost did that last night because, they were up 4-2 in the third period, and they probably thought they were home and cooled out. Tavares scores that power play goal, and they're like, okay, we'll get Joseph Woll his first win. And they stopped, and Buffalo didn't. And Jeff Skinner played like a player who makes $9 million for a change. And only by the grace of God and Morgan Rielly did they get the goal with 12 seconds left to go in regulation to pull out the victory. But, if they would have gone to overtime, I could see Skinner or Dylan Cousins or someone like that scoring a goal for Buffalo. But, the Leafs will take the 2 points.
Yeah, so if you're going to win 8 of 10, you need wins by any means necessary. They look like they should have won the game. Obviously, Skinner getting off to Schneid a little bit and getting hot in the nick of time. Unfortunately, not quite the reward that he was hoping for his team. And then you have scoring from guys other than the big four, save for John Tavares, Kampf, Kasha, Bunting, Morgan Rielly. Not a big night for the big four in terms of putting points up on the score sheet, and for your 8th victory in 10 games to get it from the support guys is a good thing. And then to obviously get a first ever win in the NHL for Joseph Woll, the 8th win of 10 for the Leafs. Everybody's contributing. We go back about a month and the place was burning, and now things seem to be a little bit more calm, cooled, collected, and on pace. But again, this process going forward, everybody is going to have to contribute, led by the big four, if there's going to be any success. And you're not going to get success down the line unless you're, moving towards success now.
Well, until Kasha's goal, the third goal against Philadelphia on Wednesday, I believe it was either 15 or 16 straight goals were scored by the core four. So, yeah, they were getting assists, they were getting play setups, but they weren't getting goals from the secondary players. And, you want that, but you want your core four to score, but you also want to sort of spread the wealth. I mean, last night, honestly, I'm not trying to be too hard on the Sabres. They're borderline AHL, NHL team. They got Vinny Hinostroza and Drake Caggiula playing on top lines. They're not, they'll put in the effort, but they're not a good team. And they had Aaron Dell in goal. So, getting goals out of Kampf and Kasha and Bunting are good things. But, I think they need those goals from those secondary performers against, teams that are going to provide a real contest to the Leafs. Now, last night they sat, I think just because of back-to-back scenario, they sat Wayne Simmons, they sat Rasmus Sandin. They mixed in, they brought Travis Dermott back in the lineup. They put Kirill Simonoff back in the lineup. And for that reason, they shook up the forward lines. I mean, Kasha was playing on the top line with Nylander and Matthews when he was playing on a third line on Friday night. So they put everything in the mix master. But I'll tell you one thing: they've won 8 of the last 9. But Sheldon Keefe, I don't think it was hyperbole. I think Sheldon Keefe he said the first 2 periods last night were dreadful, and he's expecting more out of this team. And I think he thinks there's more to see from the big players and from some of the secondary players. So he's not really satisfied. Now, great, they're winning 8 of 9, but they need to play better. And that when they're not red hot, they need to rely on their structure and on their talent to be able to win games when things are not all going honky dory.
So the season at its worst, they lost 7-1 to Pittsburgh, or the Wilkes-Barre Penguins. They got shit all over. Last night, shots about even with the minor league Sabres. Hits even. The Leafs outblocked the Sabres, but gave away 10 pucks compared to the Buffalonians. So based on having more talent, if the game was going to be even, you'd expect the Maple Leafs to win, and then they gave it back a little bit. But at the end of the day, the mosaic of wins from 1 through 8 over 10 aren't all going to be the same. They're not all going to be effervescent and satisfactory. They got the deuce, and now they can move forward. This is a very, very busy month. I wanted to ask you, Mike, about Joseph Woll real quick. I don't want him to just become an afterthought. Mm-hmm. He's clearly not the second coming of Carey Price, but can the Leafs not look to this cat now as a potential alternative to help out a little bit? Obviously, with Mrazek being down and Campbell needing some rest, because Hutchinson's been with the team, it seems like, for 10 years now, and he's required. They need him here and there, but maybe Joseph Woll can be that guy.
Well, okay, I think they like him as a kid. I think they like him as a talent. He hasn't shown the progress that they'd like to see out of a guy who would step in as an NHL backup. His save percentage in 3 years with the Toronto Marlies has been under 900. That's not a great sign. Now, he's had injury issues. The Marlies have been terrible over the last few years. Ever since Sheldon Keefe took the job in Toronto, they've really struggled. So you can use those as excuses, but you need your goaltender to sort of solve those issues. And but they wanted to give him an opportunity. And I like I said to you before we started recording, I think the reason that they were open to giving him the opportunity was because Michael Hutchinson is Michael Hutchinson, and they know what they're going to get out of him. They're going to get a sort of pedestrian average performance. Mm-hmm. And if you're expecting Michael Hutchinson to win you a game, that's probably not going to happen. Woll, I thought he played well. You could see, I think he wasn't nervous. I think he was fairly calm. He made the good to easy save. There wasn't like one spectacular save that he made. And it's Buffalo. Like I said, Buffalo is one of the worst teams in the league. So you look at the schedule and you say, well, can the Leafs go forward and use Woll until Mrazek is back? And this week they play 4 games with a back-to-back on the weekend at home against Pittsburgh on Saturday.
Wow.
And then in at the UBS Belmont Center in New York against the Islanders. I seriously doubt they're going to throw Joseph Woll in against the Islanders, with the hate John Tavares stuff and all that. And they haven't been home for all season because the building has been being finished off in at Belmont. So I think there's a possibility they call up Hutchinson next weekend on either play him against Pittsburgh or against the Islanders. Maybe they play Woll at home, but I think they would go with the veteran in that circumstance.
This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com if you're looking for a car, truck, SUV, new or used. I can help you. You know how to get a hold of me on Twitter, through email, theleafsconvo@gmail.com, or you can reach out through the community function on the YouTube channel, the Leafs Convo. It can be reached just about any which way you want to. Mike and I are having a conversation here, but you guys in the chat are, engaged in your own discussion. Masset Atkis, Nylander fans will be upset because he was benched in the third. Very interesting. And then you have Chris Daniels, a big contributor to the show. I don't know what we're going to do about the defense, to be honest. Mike, you and I are engaged in, a discussion about the Leafs based on what we think is going on. Fans have another perception of what's happening. Well,
last night, I thought a couple instances, especially the Tage Thompson goal, and the let's see, I think that was the goal that made it 4-3. They were running around in their own zone. I think it was Muzzin and Hall on the ice at that point. Honestly, if you ask me, the most stable pairing the last 2 to 3 weeks has been Liljegren and Sandin. They make their mistakes, and Liljegren made a couple yesterday, but he's 20, 21, 22 years old.
Hey, Mike, can I just throw something in there? So what I find with a lot of Leafs fans just listening and watching the conversations, it's when Liljegren and Sandin are doing well, that means get rid of Muzzin and get rid of Riley because these guys are good now. Like, isn't it okay for everybody to contribute and do well? Like, these guys can develop and become a part of, a solid 3 pairings back there. If with Leaf fans, if one person is doing well, someone else has to be the victim of the ire, right? Yeah. And in this circumstance, we're shitting on Muzzin and Riley's been paid too much and whatever. But it's okay for these young guys to develop and do really well, and maybe they rise to the top pairing. But that doesn't mean that the other guys have to be thrown out or put out to pasture. You need 6, 7, 8 defensemen, 9 defensemen throughout the course of a season to function successfully.
Yeah, and right now, the big question mark is, and knock on wood that this doesn't have to be a concern, but if all of a sudden, say, 2 Leaf defensemen catch COVID and they're out for 2 weeks, okay, who's the defenseman that they call up from the Marlies? And most likely it's Kristians Rubins. He's never played an NHL game. Now, he's made progress. He's a big kid, he's a pretty decent skater for his size. So, maybe he could make the transition. But the problem is right now, last month, that rumor came out that the Leafs were shopping a defenseman. Everybody assumes it's Justin Hall. I believe it's Travis Dermott. But right now, with the ascent of Liljegren to the starting lineup, they have a defenseman who's making either $1.5 million or $2 million who's not in the lineup. And I think the reason that they're willing to trade one of them is because they both have a year left on their contracts, and both Sandin and Liljegren, their ELCs are up at the end of the year. They're going to have to pay them at least something, probably on a bridge deal. So they're going to have to fit them in. And obviously the Jack Campbell situation, we'll talk about that later, but in terms of the contract. So I think their defense after a really horrific start has played better. I mean, Muzzin and Hall have been, I think, since they've been reunited, have been fine. But something, like I thought it was not the greatest night for Brody and Riley last night. But I think in general, the Leafs defense is better than it has been. And if Sandin and Liljegren continue to play well, then you have an extra piece that you can play with if you're Kyle Dubas. If you need to move out Dermott to clear space to, recoup a draft pick, or if it's Hall. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's Hall because they right now with Hall, if they trade Hall, they have one.
What does any of it do? Like I don't understand. Like trading one of these guys, what are you bringing back that's going to put this team over the top? Captain Awesome. Do we have the depth to even entertain a trade at any position? Or one guy goes down and we don't have Hall, Dermott, or Kerfoot. Who do we have to step in? I mean, it's like trading Dermott. Sorry, Mike, trading Dermott. Wow, the whole league wants to get their hands on Dermott, and the Leafs are going to get a bushel full of talent back. I mean, it's moving one guy out because we don't feel like he's doing enough. And then what do you bring back? You're going to bring back somebody of equal value who will probably shit on too, right?
Well, it's moving one guy out who is on the payroll next year. Mm-hmm. They have 3 draft picks for the 2022 draft, so they probably going to recoup a draft pick because they traded him.
Yeah,
most of them in the deals for Foligno and Rittich and all those players, and it's a situation that maybe they're confident that Travis Dermott is what he is, or Justin Hall is what he is, and maybe they believe that a kid like Rubens down in the Marlies can step in. I mean, he's going to be in the Olympics. He's playing for Latvia in the Olympics.
Sweet.
But what I'm saying is maybe they believe he's an NHLer, and they have the luxury of saying, okay, we can trade him. We can trade Dermott or trade Hall, and this guy will come in and help us out just as much, and we clear $1.5 million or $2 million. That's what I think they're probably thinking. Otherwise, the rumor of them moving a defenseman doesn't make any sense. Let's just say this: thank God Martin Marincin is gone.
Yeah, I agree. Hallelujah. NASCAR 427 KeyBank Arena looked empty last night. I guess because of we Mike addressed that straight off the top.
7,900.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. It is what it is. This Southwestern Ontario, that the Niagara region, Leaf fans support Buffalo's economic area through sports. Right now, it's just hard for fans to go to and fro. Hopefully that changes as time goes on. So I have a few more Leafs Convo hoodies sitting in a box. This is a large. If we get this content, this video to 1,500 views on YouTube, then just keep an eye on the view count. If it gets to 1,500 views on YouTube, all you need to do is go into the comment section below this post and type in "I'm in," and then I will pick somebody to be the new owner of this Leafs Combo hoodie. We'll see if we'll maybe do that once a show. If we get to 2,000 views for this show, I will select, and you put in the comment section, "I'm in." So that's essentially your entry into the contest. I will give you the option of joining Mike and I for about 5-10 minutes on a Leafs Combo streaming show. So 1,500 views, enter, and you can win a Leafs Combo hoodie. 2,000 views for this show, you can enter and actually join us via video link for a future Leafs Convo podcast. So there is that. Yeah, the Leafs are busy this month. 14 games in November. Mike, we could talk about the defense and the way it's structured. And again, the defense isn't bad. We could talk about the offense and the big four leading the way, and then the other guys like Kasha and Bunting and those dudes helping out a little bit here and there. And it's just not that bad. We all know this will come down to at the end of the day, this will come down to how the goaltending functions. and how it supports the process or limits the process. Jack Campbell has worked his way into a number one slot. He's arguably one of the best goaltenders in the league over the last year. So commensurate with his abilities and what he's accomplished should come monetary reward and a bit of security. At this point, looking at the landscape, looking at the pipeline, Jack Campbell has to be the guy that the Leafs put pen to paper with, get to terms on, get to an agreement with, and move forward, regardless of his injury riddled past and any concerns about the future.
Well, I mean, here's where events sort of conspire against you when it comes to planning things out. And going into the season, I thought that it was a good plan, even though I'm not the biggest Peter Mrazek fan, that, okay, you need to split the time between Campbell and Mrazek. And, Mrazek needs to be the 1B and play 35 games and take a little bit of the burden off of Campbell. And Campbell might play like as great as he played last year. But the thing is, you're keeping him rested, and you're also keeping his numbers down in a sense. And he's a UFA, and by keeping his numbers down a little bit, not by any kind of conspiratorial mind, but just by the fact that, okay, he may not be a number one, he's a 1A, and you could pay him what a 1A would make, which is $4 million, say, for example. Yep. Mrazek's groin problems. Jack Campbell is very happy for them. Not to say he's happy that his teammate is injured, but it's allowed him to have an opportunity to prove that he can carry the burden of being the number one in terms of games and in terms of performance. I mean, if you watched that game on Friday and you saw Campbell in overtime, the reason they won in overtime and got the 2 points is because Jack Campbell saved the Leafs bacon on a 3-on-2 break. He made 2 unbelievable saves on Mangiapane and I think Shillington. Sure. And to the point that Ray Ferraro sort of guffawed on the air, the save that he made. And he's done, he did that. Sorry, go ahead.
Jack Campbell's talented. I think he started with the Spitfires, then went to the Sioux Greyhounds. Yeah, and he was heralded big American goaltender coming in. Are you telling me, however, though, when Kyle Dubas signed Mrazek, he was thinking best case scenario that these two would platoon?
Yes,
is that
really? I think the plan for Mrazek, they wouldn't have signed Mrazek for almost $4 million for him to be a backup and play 20 games. They imagined them as a tandem, like who's the starter, and they were like, well, we'll play it by ear. If Mrazek's hot, we'll go with Mrazek, and if Campbell's hot, we'll go with Campbell. Well, I think that's out the door now, because Campbell has proved through, I mean, it's only 15, 16 games, but he has proved right now that he is up to the task. Now, again, knock on wood, the big concern was, 2 years ago when they got him last year, is injuries, is him tweaking something. He's apparently in great shape, and maybe he's more prepared to be and carry that burden. But that's the big concern. And that was the reason why I think they wanted Mrazek to carry a significant load. But the numbers that Campbell is putting up right now is setting himself up to get a contract. And if Pierre LeBrun did an excellent piece in The Athletic earlier in the week, and he put the chart up there of the recent contracts of the recent goaltenders signed. Everybody from Elvis Merzlikins to UC Saros to Cal Peterson, and they went down the line. And they're all the contracts start with a 5. Every single one of them. So Jack Campbell's contract is going to be $5 to $5.5 million on a new deal. If that's the case, then they have an issue, because they won't be able to fit that contract under the cap unless A, they find somebody to take Mrazek's last 2 years of his deal, or B, they trade a Kerfoot or a Richie, or dare I say it, William Nylander.
The salary cap sucks.
I know,
I know a lot of fans
reality.
have only known a salary cap, and it's part of what drives discussion. Who's valued at where, and what contract makes sense financially based on what that player is putting up. But everyone is overpaid all the time. Everyone is overpaid all the time, unless that entire team, like, again, if you had a team full of $10 million players that you thought were overpaid all the time, and then that team wins the Stanley Cup, sure, they're overpaid, but they did what you expected them to do. If they're underpaid and they don't win, you're not going to say, well, we didn't win, but the players are all compensated at value, so it makes things easier for us to digest it. In this circumstance, if Jack Campbell needs to make $5 million and he's earned it, yes, where the hell else are you going to get a goaltender that plays at his level, coming into his prime, maybe shaking the stigma of being injured constantly? Where else are you going to get that kind of goaltender? Where are you going to find one? You don't have one coming up through the system. There isn't another one out there. You can't look at it like, oh, the big four will lead us to this championship. It doesn't matter who the hell's in between the pipes. Well, right? If this is your guy, this is your guy.
I mean, I'm not begrudging Jack Campbell his payday.
No, I know.
He deserves it based on his performance, and I think he should get it. And I think the Leafs want to sign him. But I'm just saying, okay, that's point A. Point B is, how do you afford it? You've just signed Morgan Rielly to a $7.5 million contract. You needed to get that done. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to have to sign Sandin and Liljegren to new deals. Now, they'll probably be bridge deals because they're young and they really haven't played that much in the NHL.
Did they need to sign Mrazek for 4+?
That is the reason why I was questioning that signing. I would have gone after Braden Holtby and signed him for say a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. But Braden Holtby was, I'm just looking up what he got with Dallas. I think he got a 1-year deal at $2 million. Okay, I would have rather done that, but then you would have both goaltenders turning UFA on the same year. I mean, they probably could have signed Campbell to an extension in the offseason had they signed a guy like Holtby to a 1-year deal. Now they have the burden of finding a team, probably a team like Arizona or a team like Buffalo, who needs goaltending badly, to take Mrazek off their hands in the offseason if they have to sign Campbell to a big deal. I mean, it's not impossible. We've seen that done all the time, but I'm just saying it's a burden that they maybe didn't need to have on their plate.
Okay, so let's dial it back to the summer. Mm-hmm. After everything Jack Campbell did for this team.
Right.
You're telling me they still did not have the confidence, enough confidence in his future health and maybe his capability to bring someone in to take a bunch of the load, but not someone who is going to be competing with him on a contractual basis in terms of what would be paid out. Don't you think Stubis and his brass are astute enough to forecast someone like Campbell requiring late high 4s, low 5s contract wise at some point, and knowing that they were going to be in that kind of conundrum? Or were they thinking Mrazek would come in and maybe did they just not have enough confidence in what Campbell was going to be able to bring and how he'd have to be compensated at some point? Because it seems confusing to me why they would bring in Mrazek and now be put in a position where we have this guy, never mind the injury, making too much money to be able to sign the guy who led them, to the distance last year and then looks great this year, to sign him to the kind of money required when they could have avoided all this in the first place.
Going into last season, Jack Campbell, over a 10-year NHL, AHL career, had played 64 NHL games. Mm-hmm. And after the Leafs acquired him, he got hurt. And last year, he was hurt throughout. It was not something that it was something that they could manage, but it was so dicey in the sense that they had to go out and trade for David Rittich at the deadline. I think the concern was not, can Jack Campbell play well? Because he did. He played well in the playoffs. He played great in the regular season. It was whether he could play like a number one and play 50, 55, 60 games. I think that was the concern. They knew Mrazek was a good tandem partner in Carolina with James Reimer. They knew he could play for 40 games. So, they figured, okay, well, we have to mitigate Campbell's workload. B, we've got to cover our ass in case Campbell goes to free agency or in case he can't handle the job. They have a good scenario in the sense that he can handle the job, or at least right now, as of now, he can handle the job. But now they have the dilemma of being able to fit everybody under the cap, and that's going to be where Dubas is going to have to make decisions. And we know, depending on how things go this season, I mean, it may be Dubas, it may not be Dubas making the decisions. It may be easy to trade one of those core four guys if you want to. I mean, I'm telling you right now, the way Nylander is playing right now, if you decide to trade William Nylander and put him on the market, yeah, people are lining up. And I'm not saying you're going to get a boatload for him. So, I mean, you have to make deals because of asset management, because of the cap situation with the flat cap. It's just the reality. I'm not saying they're out there looking to trade, we got to get rid of William Nylander in a second. He's playing the best hockey of his career. He's playing great. That might be the best time to trade the guy, because you'll be able to get multiple assets back and it'll clear up your cap situation. It's the reality.
Does moving out someone like him advance your cause now, or are you looking to get younger players to stock the system with? For somebody who's in his prime. I'm wondering if the Leafs didn't do a full due diligence in painting out or forecasting all of the potential scenarios. Thinking, guy like Campbell may end up continuing his ascent and put us in a position where we're going to have to pay him $5+. But now we have Mrazek making $4 million, and that's $10 million for the two goaltenders. Neither was as good as Carey Price in his prime, but nowadays it's probably best to have this platoon situation, two really good goaltenders making relatively equal money. And again, it's tough to I mean, right now it looks like the Mrazek contract is a shitty one because the guy isn't playing, but we don't know. Next year in March, when the team is struggling a little bit, Mrazek's holding the fort down and he'll be worth his money. And then all of a sudden we'll say, well, geez, Jack Campbell's he's on the IR or he's not playing well. It just remains to be seen. But I'm a little surprised that the Leafs wouldn't at least give Campbell a little bit more opportunity to earn his money and squeeze him in without having to reassess who they're paying and how they're going to pay him and who they may have to move out. Then again, we know that prevailing over this Leafs team and the inability to get through to the second round of the playoffs and the failures and stuff is a tight cap situation that is a contentious discussion for most Leaf fans who want to involve themselves in it. Veets, hey boys, buongiorno from Woodbridge. Veets, good to see you joining us. I just wanted to also mention something else, guys. Again, I'll just reiterate it. I'm giving away a Leafs Convo hoodie. I don't know if you care, but you can have it for free. I'll ship it to you. You don't have to pay for shipping or anything like that. This one's a large. If this video on YouTube gets to 1,500 views, it has to get to 1,500 views. And below the video on YouTube, when this is posted, you type in "I'm in." I'm not going to see it in the chat. So if you go back and post below the video that "I'm in," then you will have entered to win that combo hoodie. But we have to get to 1,500 views for this show that Mike and I are doing right now. If we get to 2,000 views, one of you who enter will be given the option to join Mike and I for a future podcast through StreamYard. Give you 5-10 minutes. You can say whatever the hell you want to say. So 2,000 views, you join us. and 1,500 views, someone is going to win a Leafs Convo hoodie, Michael.
Yeah. Just to put a bow on the goaltending situation. Peter Mrazek has played 5 periods. So right now, yeah, it looks like a terrible signing. But he'll be back. He's gonna play. He's an NHL goaltender. I think he's a pretty decent NHL goaltender. And trading a goalie after this year, if you need to clear the cap space, is not an impossibility. There are all, the market for goaltenders is clear out there. If Mrazek puts up good numbers, this year, then it would be fairly easy to trade him. So I think that's the and maybe the Joe Woll experiment is to see whether he can be the backup next year, making $750,000, and then they can save a bit of money on that situation. So I think that these general managers don't have a crystal ball. I think they and that's the thing. Jack Campbell had played I believe 20 games for the Leafs up until he played 6 games going into last season, and then he played 22 games and then the 7 playoff games. So really, it was not a wide swath of games to really make a determination that this is your goaltender of the future. I think what he did last year was phenomenal. And he played well in the playoffs, so he wasn't the reason that they lost. They just, they needed more evidence, and I think this year was going to be the more evidence. But the only thing you could say is, well, did you need to sign Mrazek to a 3-year deal at $3.8 million? Well, look at what the price of the goaltenders were. That was probably the low of the goalies that you could say as a tandem partner. That was the lowest total, the lowest amount that you could pay, unless you were going to go with a strict backup like Braden Holtby, and then it's all on Campbell. And I don't think they wanted to play Braden Holtby 30 to 35 games, so they deemed that this was the best option. We'll see how it unfolds, but like right now, he's putting up numbers. Campbell, he's putting up numbers that might get him on the U.S. Olympic team. So, I mean, do I expect that to continue? Well, I could hope so, but I don't know if it's for sure.
Can we enjoy what's happening? Just watch it and enjoy it. And if it's shitty one night, like it was against the Kings, just get over it and move on. Can we just enjoy it, or does everything have to be tied into the contracts and tied into who's not performing to the level of what they're being paid, and who deserves more money, and who should ascend to the top pairing because they're playing better than the top pairing right now? Can we just maybe enjoy it for a bit? Is that possible, or no? We're Leaf fans, right? So
yes,
I'm asking you. Like,
no, we can't.
Oh, okay, thanks.
No. We can't.
We can't enjoy it. Michael Matthew, longtime contributor to the podcast, from day one. I'm still eating crow on Nylander. He is non-tradable. I'm not eating crow on him. I've never said anything bad about him. I mean, he's fantastic. He's great. He's a contributor to the greater good, and I'm really excited.
Well, okay,
that he's having a great year. In addition to other guys, thank goodness for
Sheldon Keefe is people are asking questions how great is William, and they're not saying that.
It's not William Nylander's team. He's just a part of it. There are people who just absolutely adore the guy like it's a cult or something.
No, but okay,
he's great. Just leave it alone.
But the way he's been playing, he's having clearly the best year of his career. He started off great, and reporters are asking, are you pleased with the progress of William? And Sheldon Keefe is, well, I know William has talent. I think there's more. And that's always the job of the coaches, to push for more. Okay.
He's not Connor McDavid, okay? So let's calm down.
Right, but this year, okay, I heard this.
Then that's no problem. That'll give this elevated status he'll never be able to reach. Just let him do his thing and contribute the way he is. He is not the leading scorer on the team. He's not a 100-point guy.
I heard the stat that he had the second most shots in the league behind Ovechkin. It's
awesome.
So it was great. And my point is, and to use my analogy from before, you've seen more of Dr. Nylander than Mr. Willie this year. It's been the doctor has been in residence for
I
most.
don't want to see Mr. Willie. He
Yeah,
does not sound like someone I want to
neither
encounter.
neither do I. But what I'm saying is that Mr. Willie rears its ugly head every once in a while and brings
He's
you.
human, man. He's just an NHLer. They're all gonna fuck up here and there. It's not a big deal. Like whatever.
I know,
he's like look where he is. He again, you know, with Matthews not being a top guy right now, and Marner, you know, he is who he is. William Nylander's been fantastic. I mean, there's a maturity there too, right? It's not just about the skill and everybody complaining and whining that he needs to be treated with kid gloves and we all have to worship at his altar. Just seeing a maturity in the person just going out and just saying, F it, I'm going to play this game.
I think that the reason he is playing with more of a fire in his belly is because he realizes that if he doesn't perform this year more consistently and this team doesn't have, make at least the second round of the playoffs, he's going to get moved. They know that they're going to be changed. And you can't trade Tavares. He's got a no move clause. You're not trading Matthews, and you probably can't trade Marner because
you can't trade. Yeah. Again, it's you're right. We ride or die with this big four. If it blows apart and some of these guys have to be eventually moved and the team restructures, we'll look back and say at least the Leafs tried. And that's the thing, Mike, with Kyle Dubas, and we can shit all over him when things aren't going well, and then when the team looks okay, and talk about how Dubas is the greatest GM in the history of sports. He is trying. He is trying based on the way he feels this team can succeed and the resources he has at his disposal. He is trying, right? I mean, and again, you can only try for so long. But it's not like, he hasn't had money to spend. It's not like he hasn't gone out and tried to reconfigure things. It's not not as if he hasn't doubled back a little bit and, had an about face over how he thought things would work and then how he thought he might be able to rectify the situation. So he may have, hamstrung himself a little bit with some of the contracts but he's not the first general manager to have done that. Mike, a few last words to you and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, this week is going to be a challenging week. Like I said, 4 games on the schedule. And you have to, for all the good that's happened so far, after the 4-game losing streak, them winning 8 of the last 9. If you look at the balance of the schedule here, they've played 10 games at home and I think 6 on the road. And now they'll play 3 more home games this week. So, they're going to have a big swath of road games coming up. And their road record has been, I think it's a game over 500 or 2 games over 500. They're going to have to be able to play. They played a really good road game in Philadelphia on Wednesday. Not so much against Buffalo. Maybe they played down to the competition. Maybe it's the fact that they always lose in that building. But when they go on the road starting, I think, next Sunday against the Islanders, they're going to have to really tighten up their game.
Yeah, and I don't think any team the Leafs play, you should give the win to Toronto based on one team being completely inferior, especially when you have a team like the Leafs that not on any given night, but from time to time can shit the bed and just look completely anemic. So this is the process moving forward. It will, in the moment, here's where we are, and I'm liking what I'm watching. It's enjoyable. It's fun. We're seeing guys who we expect to play well, and continue to bolster their credibility and their reputation. And then other guys, are building something for themselves, which benefits the team and for us as fans, allows us to find a little more enjoyment in this content. And that's always a nice thing because we have dealt with, so much misery over the past, half century and then some. And then for the newer group of Leaf fans, there's a different type of misery based through social media and then just the acrimony that takes place on a daily basis among the fan base. Yeah, Mike, it's exciting. Last thing for you guys, one more time, I have this Leafs Convo hoodie. I don't know if you care, but some people like to have this kind of stuff. I mean, when I shut this project down, at some point, this will be a relic and a a nice thing to have to remember what Mike and I were doing here for all these years. It's a large. If this post gets the 1,500 views on YouTube, not the chat, but on YouTube, 1,500. If you type in the comment section below the post on YouTube, not the chat, and I don't mean to sound condescending here, but some people just aren't listening. We get to 1,500 views, and you type in "I'm in." That's your entry into the contest. I will select one of you to own this Leafs Convo hoodie. I have a few more. We may do some more contests in the future. If this post, this combo, November 14th, 2021, reaches 2,000 views, and you type in "I'm in" the comment section, and I choose you, I will give you the option to join Mike and I through StreamYard on a future Leafs Convo. 5-10 minutes, you can hang out with us, and we can chat Maple Leafs hockey. Anything more, Mike, or do you want to get out of here?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. It's been a pretty good week for the Leafs and the Leafs Convo. Better days ahead. For Mike, I'm Norm. Talk to you soon.